This is Dare to be Authentic Talk Radio Worldwide with relationship coach, life coach, and author Mari Mitchell. Broadcasting live from Southern California.
Hi, and welcome to Dare to be Authentic Radio. I'm your host, Mari Mitchell, and I'm so glad to be here with you today. We have a very special guest. His name is Matt Rosenthal. He's going to be talking about going into everything you do as your very best self. He's very passionate about helping others, and he even shares his mistakes that he has made in the past so they won't have to suffer from the same mistakes. Matt is a technology and business strategist as well as president and CEO of Mindcore, the leading IT solution provider in New Jersey. Welcome to the show, Matt. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm excited to speak with you.
Oh,
Great
I'm excited.
topic.
Yeah, I love it. So tell us a little bit about how you got into this and why doing everything as your best self is so important to you.
Well, I got into how I got into technology, you're asking me, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I got into technology. It's actually, I think it's a common story that I hear from most entrepreneurs that I know. That I went to school for one thing, which was criminal justice, which I have a degree in, and I ended up doing something in life that was totally different than what my formal education is in.
Yeah.
I ended up really through a friend of mine at the firehouse where I was a volunteer fireman. I had been going through some period in my life where even though I had an education, I didn't actually have a plan. I didn't really know where I was going. I was kind of flopping around trying to find my way. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Hey, you know what? My brother has an opportunity at Deutsche Bank, which was a building in New York City. And if you want to come meet him, he might be able to give you an entry-level job in IT." So I said, "Really? Okay, that's great." And I knew nothing about computers, about technology. I mean, I was really like entry level. But as with many things in my life, it was an opportunity that kind of presented itself. I saw it as an opportunity, and I jumped on it. And once I was in there, I really just did everything I could to learn and to really throw myself into doing the best that I could do in something that I had no idea about. And it worked. Over time, I got really good at it, and I discovered I had a lot of different talents that I didn't even know I had, that they certainly didn't teach me or bring to my attention in school. And and over time, it really turned into something really nice. And although I spent many years working for other people, over time, it evolved into me having my own business. And as you said before, you said something brilliant, which was about mistakes. I made a ton of mistakes along the way, and I figured them out. I fell on my face and stood up and kept on going. And so how did I get from there to here? A lot of time, a lot of commitment, and really just sticking with it, really. Yeah,
I love that you say that because sometimes we get the impression, especially now in the age of social media, people are putting up their profiles and all their successes that they have. And sometimes I think we get the wrong impression, or people get the wrong impression that things are so easy and that it just happens overnight. But the fact that you say you had to make a lot of mistakes, I've made a lot of mistakes too. You had to learn things sometimes the hard way. And it takes time, effort, and persistence. So those are wonderful qualities. Very good. So
that's a word.
Yeah,
a great word. That's a brilliant word. It's so true because I look at I see people that are different generation that are kind of up and coming now. It does kind of come across in social media like things happen overnight. You see people taking pictures of themselves like with Lamborghinis and big houses. But at the end of the day, I don't know. You really do have to put the time in. There's no shortcut. There's just not a shortcut. It just takes time. It takes decades to really, really, be a professional and to have made enough mistakes and to have wisdom.
Yes. Yes. It takes decades to learn something and do it really well. You can't do, I'm glad that you say that. Hardly anybody talks about that. Everything's a fast way to whatever. And the shortcuts to whatever. And I like that you say it does take decades. It takes a lot of practice. Anything that you do takes a lot of practice, even if you have a leaning towards it, So obviously you like this profession because man, going from criminology to this is those two separate things. So there must have been something in this IT that you really liked. Would you like to share that with us?
You know, it was a challenge because I didn't know anything about it. Honestly, to be authentic, I when I first got into it, I needed to make money, and I was doing everything I had done for years was manual labor. You know, I drove a truck for 2.5 years, and landscaping and roofing and all of those things while I was going to college, which took me 10 years. So by the time I got into my late 20s, I had decided, you know, it's time to grow up. It's time to really figure it out. I can't be a police officer because I had a pretty serious injury, which is actually why I never ended up pursuing that, even though I had the degree in it.
Wow.
And so, I ended up having that opportunity. And what happened was once I got into it, I realized I found it really exciting. Like I found it exciting to learn something new. And what I really found most exciting wasn't the technology. It was the working with people, all different people, all different problems. Every day it was something different. It was never the same monotonous thing, helping people with their technology and working at different large companies. I found it exciting to be around so many people, and I learned a lot from being around so many people. I can't honestly say I ever loved being the technologist because that's not what came natural. I had to work really hard at learning the technology side of things. But what came more naturally, which I didn't know until it began to happen, was the connecting with people and, you know, being able to just listen and have like this happy, fun experience just like talking with people. Because when you're in technology and you're delivering this type of service, even when I was working for somebody else, it's always about the people. It's funny. It's not really ever about the technology because there's nothing special about you know the technology. What's special is your ability to work with people and listen to them and understand them and connect with them. And that's what I really was turned on to.
That's great. You know, and it's important when we have someone who's helping us or serving us in some way, especially with technology, that does listen to us and that does understand what our problem is and can fix it. Because even working for others, I've had experiences where they just weren't listening to me. And so if you don't listen to my problem, you can't really solve it very easily. And so that's really a key. And that's a key in everything in life, to be able to truly listen to people, you know, to hear what they're saying.
I've learned over the recent years, not just listening, this is for me, listening with the intention of understanding them and not letting my own filter of what I think people mean get in the way. That took me a while because you always have this soundtrack playing in your head. There's this thing you think somebody says something and they mean something totally different. Well, either they didn't communicate clearly or they did, and you're just filtering it because you have your life experience and you hear what you want to hear. That was a big part of evolving, and so not just listening, but listening not just to the technical problems, but you know, to your point, listening to what somebody really has to say and how they're actually feeling while we're actually dealing with the technology. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. And, you know, I'm glad that we're on this topic of listening. So what about, I mean, we have to work on it. Even I had to work on it. All of us have to work on it. And really listening with the intent to understand. That's not something that we're taught in school or taught, period. What tips would you have for a listener on how were you able to train yourself to begin to do this? Because, like I said, it doesn't really come naturally. We're trained out of that.
The most important thing that I experienced with that, which I had to work on for several years, was learning to quiet my mind and while other people are talking, to consciously not have this habit of thinking about something else or being prepared to say what's on my mind and just waiting to either cut them off or to get my 2 cents in, which, you know, is what most people do. It's not about me when I'm talking to somebody. It's about them. And if you're focusing on the other person and you're truly listening to them to the point where you're trying to connect with how they're feeling, it's very difficult for anything other than real understanding to come from that. But that's a very, very difficult thing to do. So for me, I had to, I do a lot of meditation and I spend time keeping myself in a place of mindfulness. Mm-hmm. So over the years of doing more and more of that, I've just I've chilled out. I've become just a much quieter thinker, and that allows me to focus on what somebody's saying. I'm talking to you right now, and there's nothing else on my mind. I'm just focused on you. So my number one piece of advice would be focus. Don't be distracted by anything in your environment or your own thoughts. And that's not easy to do. You really got to work at it.
Yeah, it's true. It's not easy to do because our brain is going nonstop, and then sometimes we're talking to people and looking at our cell phones, right? That's the worst. You're talking to someone and they're looking at their cell phones or whatever, and you don't have that undivided attention, and that's where misunderstandings come in. Or from the point of the person that's talking or being listened to or not being listened to, it's very frustrating because, you have to repeat yourself or the person isn't understanding. So I love that you brought that forth because I didn't expect that to come forth today. So that's why it's wonderful to have these conversations. I love it.
We have this talk track that we all have running in our minds. I read a book. I actually can't remember the name of the book, but the guy pointed out in the book, when you're in the shower and just stop for a second and say to yourself, wait a minute, I just had all these random thoughts while you're taking a shower. Oh, I forgot to close the garage door, or oh, I got to go wash the car, or I got to pick up the dry cleaning. Like in that 10 minutes you're in the shower, or 5 minutes, just think about how much stuff is going through your mind, but you're not actually thinking it. It's all just popping into your head, right? So you have to quiet your mind.
Although sometimes I get my best thoughts in the shower. For some reason, my best idea is either that or putting on makeup. There's something about doing something that you don't have to think about that somehow, inspiration comes through for me in those places. It's very, very odd. But you're right. We're thinking about all this stuff. Or when you first wake up, that's the worst time for me. When I first wake up and then all these thoughts are going through and I have to say, okay, enough already. I just woke up. I need to calm my mind. Very good. So let's take a couple of minutes and talk about authenticity. What role does authenticity play in all this for you, Matt?
Well, now it plays a significant role. It didn't play as large of a role for many years. I recently turned 48, so for me, it's been a journey, and I'll skip over the journey of my childhood, but it took me until I was into my 40s to really connect with what that meant and what it meant for me. And I guess somewhere along the way, it also became this word that everybody uses now, but for me, it meant something over the past few years. Because I had to evolve, and part of me evolving and reaching my own potential as a human being was me connecting with who I really am, what truly makes me happy, what my true purpose is on this planet. And so that for me is what began a process of evolving, so that now authenticity is a big part of my life, and the people around me experience me differently than they experienced me 6 months ago, a year ago, certainly 5 years ago, because of that. And for me, it was, it's all about, if you really ask yourself, or if I ask myself, why are we here? We're not put on this planet to make money and work long days. And these are things we do because we want to be comfortable and we have to survive. But the true purpose of being on this planet is really to be happy in every moment that you're here. So love, joy, happiness, and gratitude is the reason you're on the planet. So it took me a long time to realize that. And earlier in my life, when I wasn't in that mindset most of the time, my experiences with people were different. And I began to realize that everything's a mirror. So when, I was a very type A, hard driving, sort of always right, know-it-all kind of person. And that doesn't actually feel good when you're that type of person. But for me, when I was able to step back and really go through this multi-year process of evolving, I had to unpack, well, why am I like that? And once I get through that, and you get through the ego, and you get through your old programming, and you get through all the fear, what you're really left with is this raw core of like, okay, now this is who I am. And what I feel generally when I wake up and walk the earth every day is, wow, I'm really grateful for things like family and friends and a moment. I happen to live in a warm, nice place. I live in South Florida. I wake up in the morning and walk outside and just look around, and I take that moment in. So all of that got me to a place where I am comfortable being authentically who I really feel I am meant to be. And part of that is truly service to other people. I just the love and joy I get from helping other people, there's no words. So it was a process, it was a journey, and I'm still doing it. I'm still getting to I'm not sure it's a journey that ever ends to be that authentic version of myself. But now my interactions are very different. The mirror, which is other people's reactions to me and other people's feeling around me, that mirror, which I'm very aware of and alert to, is very different now than it was before I had this awakening and this awareness. And so I use other people as a barometer and a mirror for myself. Because when I'm getting a negative reaction or something's not flowing and it's more of a resistant type of feeling than flow, then I have to look at myself and I have to go back to that center. Am I being who I'm really supposed to be? Am I judging or am I not judging? These are all the things that for me are like maintaining really being authentic and centered.
Yeah, that's great.
A lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and it takes a lot of awareness. And I like the part about being the know-it-all and pushing and all that stuff, because I was just like that. I was the same way. Maybe it's a New York thing. And I had to learn a lot, and I just to get involved in all things that were none of my business, because I knew better, right? Boy, is it easy to just have your life and stay out of everybody else's stuff and just be me. And so I love all that. Well, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. And if you want to call and ask Matt a question, you can call 929-477-3869. That's 929-477-3869. You can start calling now, and we'll be right back.
What you allow is what will continue. The things happening in your life are not by accident. Your love life, your happiness, your peace are all controlled by you. Are you ready to transform the most intimate relationships in your life? Are you ready to get off that dating hamster wheel? Allowing Change is ran by life and relationship coach Brittany Richards, and she understands relationships are hard, but they can work and you can find that perfect partner. Contact Brittany Richards today at 509-795-0376 or at allowingchange.com and book a free consultation.
What happens in your body begins with your energy. If you can't find relief from your pain, it may be time to look deeper. Mindy Stritch is a certified healing therapist that will help you discover the root cause of what hurts. To learn more, schedule a free consultation. Call 678-642-7771 or visit www.mindystritch.com. That's MINDYSTRICH.com. Restoring your energy will renew your life.
Ask yourself, are you living the life you desire or a life of default and settling for less? Lifestyle empowerment coaching is an effective process to support individuals in creating something new and beneficial. For more than 25 years, Rhonda Farah, author, speaker, and lifestyle empowerment coach, has been doing just that. Contact her to receive a 30-minute complimentary sample session at helpmerhondanow.com.
Are you ready for more? Ready to make a change but not sure what steps to take? Dr. Tracy, a certified executive coach with proven results, can help. If you're frustrated, unmotivated, feeling stuck, or out of place, Dr. Tracy will help you break through to the next level. Stop believing this is all there is and know there's more for you. Text Coach Me to 833-372-4369 for a free consultation. You are ready. Text Coach Me to 833-372-4369 for a free consultation.
We're back on Dare to Be Authentic Radio. I'm your host, Mari Mitchell, with special guest Matt Rosenthal, talking about going into everything you do as your best self. So let's talk about that for a minute. Why has it been so important to you and as your travels and your journey to do things as your best self?
Well, the interesting thing for me is that I'm I'm like, I think the word is hyper aware. I'm hyper aware. I'm very aware of the example that I set for my children. And for me, it's because I grew up in when my father died when I was 12. I grew up in a fairly, dysfunctional home. And I kind of had to find my own way. So I even though people look at me now and they look at me materially and they would say I'm a success in life. I thought I was too, until I realized that you're not really a success, and I don't believe you're a success in life unless you're living a life of love, joy, and happiness, and you're giving out to other people. So I did not want to take the chance of having my children have any of the feelings that I felt as a child growing up. And so I don't really know where along the line it kind of kicked in. I think it was a process, but I just began to be aware, like, hey, I need to be different. I need to kind of break the pattern that's gone on for generations in my own family. And so I had this opportunity with my wife and my kids to be the leader in my home, not financially and in that way, but in a way where I could lead emotionally and with stability and teach the lessons that matter most, which are the words I keep using, which is love, gratitude, creativity, and so it just kind of evolved for me, and it became a transformative process for me, and I loved the whole thing. But that was one reason. The other reason was I never actually felt like I was reaching my full potential, and I truly wasn't actually happy inside. And I'm talking about in your soul and in your heart and who you really are. It took a lot of work and a lot of figuring out to get to a place where, as I mentioned before, I was able to get out of my own way and to really connect with the version of myself, and then to, without any shame or any of the things that we all carry in life, to walk around and be a different person that actually is, attracts other like-minded people in that way. So, but it started out with, I'm not sure if I've ever told anybody that actually, but for me, it was really my kids and just wanting them to have the best possible experience that I could expose them to, at least around me. And that was it's a big force in anyone's life,
It is. And it's a wonderful thing because the kids, you always hear this phrase, kids don't learn what you tell them. They learn by watching what you do, and they do everything you do. And I see that in my grandchildren, the 3-year-old, she will do everything her daddy does. He likes to exercise. She's over there exercising. So kids model us, and we can say all we want. All day long we could scream it, but they're not going to learn it if we're doing something the opposite. So I think that was wonderful. What you've done for the children is wonderful because it feeds to posterity. Now your children have those things that they've learned, that guidance, and then they can put it to their other children and those children. So look what you've created. You changed your family dynamic and are creating something wonderful. Yeah. I think that's beautiful. 100%. Absolutely beautiful.
And I also didn't feel like, I had come from relatively nothing, and I had reached success financially, and I was building. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was running. I've said this before. From the time I was about 12 years old, I was running to something to try and achieve something that I didn't even know what I was trying to achieve, while at the same time running from something, which is your past.
Right.
So there's a place you get to where it's like, okay, I'm no longer going to run from my past, and I need to know what I'm running to, because I had a big house, I had cars, I had financial stability, I belonged to a country club. I had this whole thing I had put together, but I didn't feel any different inside. None of it created any happiness, and it did for a second, but then none of it is long-lasting happiness. And so at a certain point, I began to realize in my early 40s, like, okay, this stuff doesn't really matter. And all I did was build this persona of who I always thought I wanted to be since I was a kid. And now I'm here, and I can keep running and trying to achieve, but all it's going to do is probably give me a heart attack. So what's the real purpose of being here? All those things happened. That whole process happened for me.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, you shared a lot of really intimate things with us of how you grew, and I just appreciate you for that. So what do you think, Matt, is the main message you want to bring to the public today?
I'm going to repeat something I said. It's get out of your own way, and then if you can know what that means for yourself, your heart and your mind and your body, it all gives you signals. You need to find a way to be happy and to bring happiness and joy and gratitude to this world and to other people. It's whether it's your job, your profession, or your family or your friends. It really always starts with you. So the best thing you could possibly do is reflect on yourself and ask yourself if you've done everything in your power to be the best version of yourself. And if not, get rid of the old programming, get rid of the fear of change, and learn to have healthy beliefs. That's where it all starts. Your beliefs create your thoughts, and your thoughts create your actions, and your actions create all the outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully said. So let's talk for a minute about how to get a hold of you, if those who want to get a hold of you, et cetera.
Best way to get a hold of me is to hit me on LinkedIn, which is my name. It's Matt Rosenthal, and you can probably search with that in Mindcore, my company. You can email me. It's matt.rosenthal@mind-core.com. You can find me on Instagram. I don't have that offhand, but you can find me on Instagram. I think it's the best way, but LinkedIn is definitely the best way. I mean, I'm on that all the time. If you send me a message, I'll always get right back to you.
Fantastic. And you can find Matt on my website, lifecoachmari.com. That's lifecoachmari.com. Just click on my radio show page. He's already there with this picture, a link to his website, a link to this interview, which, by the way, I hope that you'll spread. Matt has shared so many wonderful and encouraging things with us. So spread it to someone that you think that would enjoy it. So, Matt, is there one last thing you'd like to say to a listener before we close?
Let's see what else I can add. One more thing I can tell you is no matter where you're at in life, no matter what you're doing, personal, business, don't be afraid also to pivot. What I mean by that is it's okay to realize, hey, I made a mistake, and making some decisions is better than making no decisions. So don't hold on to a decision so strongly that you're going to keep following it down a bad path. It's okay to pivot and be decisive and go a different direction, and just be as transformative as you can and have an impact on the people around you, positive impact.
That's really good. That reminds me of something I tell my kids sometimes. They're trying to make a decision, and I'm like, you can decide to do this or you can decide to do that, but you're not deciding to do it forever. So let's say it's a job opportunity or whatever. You don't have to do it forever. I used to think that I had, once I decided something, that was it. But I learned, like you did, that you can pivot. So it's good to know also when you're making a decision. And there's so many options, and you take you write the good side, the bad side of everything. You're still confused. And I always say you could change your decision. You can make another decision after that. You don't have to be stuck there forever.
Absolutely. Beautiful thing about life. The only thing you have control over is the choices you make. That's it.
Absolutely. So, very good.
It's okay to make different choices, even though you made a bad one. Okay, learn from it and go make a better one.
That's absolutely. Thanks so much for being on the show. It has been such a delight having you. And thank you for listening in. I hope that you'll spread this. Remember, there's a replay right after, so spread it to all your friends and family, anybody who might enjoy it. And thanks so much for listening to Dare to Be Authentic Radio. We'll catch you next time. Bye for now.
This is Dare to Be Authentic Talk Radio Worldwide with relationship coach, life coach, and author Mari Mitchell. Broadcasting live from Southern California.